I used to think I was the reasonable one. The calm one. The logical one. The person who didn't overreact. At least, that's what I told myself. It was a cold Tuesday evening in late October when everything finally shifted. The kind of cold that makes the air feel heavier than it should. I was sitting in my car outside my brother Daniel's house, staring at his porch light flickering on and off like it couldn't decide whether to stay or quit. Kind of how I felt about going inside. "I'm not apologizing," I muttered under my breath. "Not this time." The argument we'd had the week before kept replaying in my head. "You always have to be right," Daniel had said. "I don't have to be right," I shot back. "I just deal in facts." He had laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No. You deal in control." That word stuck with me. Control. I convinced myself he was being dramatic. Emotional. Oversensitive. I was just trying to help. That's what older brothers do, right? We fix things. We guide. We protect. So why was I sitting in my car feeling like the villain? I finally stepped out. The porch creaked under my weight. I knocked once. Then twice. When Daniel opened the door, he didn't look angry. He looked tired. "You came," he said quietly. "Yeah," I replied. "We need to talk." We sat at the kitchen table we'd grown up around. Same table where we'd eaten cereal before school. Same table where we'd celebrated birthdays. But that night, it felt unfamiliar. "So," I began, leaning back like I had the upper hand, "what exactly do you think I did wrong?" He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at me in a way that made me uncomfortable. "That's the problem," he finally said. "You don't even see it." "See what?" He exhaled slowly. "You think helping means correcting. You think loving someone means pointing out every flaw so they can improve." "That's not," I started. "Just listen," he said gently. Something in his voice made me stop. "When I told you I was struggling at work, do you remember what you said?" I did. I told him to work harder. To stop blaming his boss. To be more disciplined. "I was motivating you," I defended. "No," he replied softly. "You were fixing me." The room felt smaller. "I'm your brother," I said. "It's my job to help." "Help," he repeated. "Or control." I crossed my arms, feeling defensive again. "So what? I'm just supposed to sit there and say nothing?" "No," he said. "You're supposed to listen." Silence stretched between us. "Do you know why I stopped calling you?" he asked. I didn't answer. Because every time I shared something real, I left feeling smaller. That sentence hit harder than I expected. "That's dramatic," I muttered, but even I didn't believe it. "I don't need a coach," he continued. "I need a brother." And that's when something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough to let the truth in. I thought back to every conversation we'd had over the past year. Every "you should." Every "why don't you just." Every "if I were you." I thought I was being strong. Stable. Dependable. But the truth was uglier. I wasn't helping to help. I was helping to feel superior. To feel needed. To feel right. I had confused being right with being loving. And in doing so, I had slowly made my own brother feel small. "I never meant to make you feel that way," I said quietly. "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm telling you." There was no anger in his voice. Just honesty. That made it worse. Driving home later, the silence in my car felt heavier than before. I replayed everything. The times I corrected him mid-sentence. The times I dismissed his feelings because they didn't seem logical enough. Why had I done that? The answer came slowly. Because I was afraid. Afraid that if I wasn't the problem solver, I wasn't valuable. Afraid that if I didn't have answers, I had nothing to offer. So I overcompensated. I corrected instead of comforted. I advised instead of understood. I controlled instead of connected. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I called him. He picked up. "Hey," he said cautiously. "Hey," I replied. My voice felt different. Softer. Less guarded. "I've been thinking." "Yeah?" "I think I've been listening just to respond. Not to understand." There was a long pause. "That's accurate," he said gently. I swallowed my pride. "I'm sorry." Not defensive. Not justified. Just sorry. And for the first time in a long time, the silence between us felt safe. Over the next few weeks, I practiced something I wasn't good at. Restraint. When he talked about work, I didn't jump in with solutions. Instead I asked, "How are you feeling about it?" Sometimes he'd say, "Honestly?" "Frustrated." And instead of fixing it, I'd say, "That makes sense." It felt awkward at first. Like I wasn't doing enough. But something changed. Our conversations grew deeper. Slower. Real. One evening he said, "You feel different." "How?" "Less sharp," he smiled. "In a good way." I laughed. I didn't know I was sharp. "You were," he said. "But now you feel safe." Safe. That word meant more than being right ever had. I started noticing other relationships too. At work. With friends. How often had I mistaken correction for connection? How many subtle distances had I created because I needed to win the argument instead of understand the person? The truth wasn't dramatic. There was no explosion. No door slamming. Just a quiet sentence across a kitchen table. "I need a brother." That was the moment I realized I had been wrong all along. Not about facts. But about love. Because love without listening isn't love. It's ego. And sometimes the strongest thing you can say isn't advice. It's, "I'm here." If I had stayed in that car that night. If I had clung to my certainty. I might still think I was right. And still be wrong.